Good morning. Chris Lee of Southeastern 16 here, joined by my partners, Blake Lovell and Max Barr. It is game day in SEC basketball. We've got Kentucky in a food fight with Tennessee tonight in Knoxville. We got South Carolina and Georgia in Stegeman Coliseum, big game for the Bulldogs. We got Oklahoma and Texas A&M in Reed Arena. Big game for both teams tonight. Gentlemen, any night of SEC basketball is a good night. Cannot wait to see all these games. But I think attention first has to go to Knoxville, where Max Barr, the Cats are a little less than healthy these days.
Yep. Cats are less than healthy. Hope all of you guys are more than healthy as we sit here on this fine Tuesday morning. Sun is shining in Charlotte. I don't know if you can tell right now, but the sun is beaming in Charlotte this morning. I think it's a good sign. I think it's a sign that there's going to be a nice night of SEC hoops tonight. Hey, we got 3 games tonight, and all 3 of them are single-digit spreads. Hey, anything can happen. We all swept kiss of death every home team. What are the odds every home team wins with the kiss of death on them? Not very high, if you ask us.
All I know is Shane says it's 50s today in Kentucky. Shane, I am thrilled at that development. I think it's going to be in the 50s in Nashville, and my goodness, if I can, derobe here with this jacket for once in this garage, it'd be tremendous. Look, Max, pull it up. Let's get this injury report up. This is the story of the day.
Yep.
We didn't know exactly. We had an idea of what this was going to look like, but now that we know exactly what it is for Kentucky, no Lamont Butler. We talked about that possibility. We knew Kirk Kriisa was still going to be out. There just wasn't any sort of information to lead us to believe that he would be playing. And Andrew Carr listed as questionable. I think that's just, again, not a doctor, but I just think they're going to list him as questionable. I don't think they're officially going to list him as out just because it's kind of a back nagging thing. So it's like, just list him as questionable, and maybe there's just the hope that he has a chance to play. I don't know. I mean, surely we think he's probably trending towards not playing, right, based on what Mark Pope said. So, man, it's just a brutal setup for Kentucky going into this game against a team like this because, again, we've talked about Tennessee's defense. And if you don't have Butler, if you don't have Carr, which who knows? Carr may play. It's questionable, but we'll know more hour before game time or whatever. It's just not an ideal setup heading into that building.
I knew that Butler had a shoulder issue. To see him listed as out, I did not know it was going to be that strongly worded, for lack of a better way to phrase it.
Yeah, it's confusing because you would think, given the information that we got about Carr, you would think that this would be Andrew Carr out, Lamont Butler questionable. That's what I would have guessed it would be if Lamont Butler was to be on it. But to have Carr be questionable, Lamont Butler's just out. It's a little bit weird, but it might also just be we've seen the questionable tag be used a few times by coaches when they probably know very well what the answer to that question is.
Well, it's like in 2, you can't just – it'd be different if, all right, we know Andrew Carr has like a broken leg or something. Well, come on. You can't list him as questionable with a broken leg. But it's just it's a back thing, right? It's some kind of either muscle or like – so you can kind of list him as questionable and sort of get away with it, even if you don't think he's going to play, because you're like, well, you never know. He may walk around today and may feel good, and we put him out there and everything's fine. But yeah, like you said, I think I would expect the opposite, where Butler may be questionable, Carr out, but I think that's why they just do it with Carr. It's easy to list it as questionable because, again, it's not like there is an actual tear or anything like that we know of in terms of that sort of injury. So
Yeah. Do we want to keep going down, or do we want to stay on this game?
Let's stay on this one a minute because I want to unpack some implications.
Well, yeah, just give me 1 second because there's only like
Sure.
one other injury.
Yeah, it's just we can bring these up and then we can get back to the game in a second. Yeah.
Yeah. So Abeson questionable for Georgia. A little bit of their front court depth, and obviously Studi out. There was a Murray Boyles questionable tag last week. He's good to go. Jamari Thomas full go now. Not even showing up on the report. And then Oklahoma completely good to go. Solo Washington. He was in and out of the game on Saturday. Solo Washington with a questionable tag. That'll actually be something to monitor there because of his matchup with Moore of Oklahoma. So that'll be a little bit interesting. But those are the only other injuries. This one is a bit more talking points here.
Max, what's the injury to Washington?
I'm not sure exactly, but I was reading one of the A&M beats posts on him, and they were saying that he was in and out of the Saturday game, and he was able to come back. So if he was able to come back in the game on Saturday, I would think it's not anything serious. I don't know the exact injury though.
Okay.
Well, I mean, look, I think if you go back to this Kentucky-Tennessee game, and
yeah,
I appreciate Sam clarifying here. Yes, I didn't mean that he had torn his back, Sam. I just meant there's maybe another injury, something like that. There's a tear somewhere. Like you just don't. No, I appreciate your medical opinion here, Sam. But I know you'll be at the Food City Arena tonight wearing all blue. I have no doubt. But this game, it does change a bit, right? Because we came in saying this was a tough spot for Kentucky. They were kind of struggling a little. I mean, we talked about the defensive issues and all that, but now you just, yes, like there are still guys who can go off offensively, but we just keep bringing up the point of the points allowed by Tennessee at home this season and just the way they're going to defend in this game. And obviously you have a little less depth too if you're Kentucky now in this matchup. And, you know, you go in there, get in foul trouble because that was kind of a theme of some recent games, as we know. I mean, it just completely, if you're Mark Pope, it just throws everything off in terms of your normal rotations. And then you're having to try to do this and mix and match here or there and all that. It's just, yeah, it's not a fun setup. So,
well, who are they going to play, right? We know who they're going to play. It's going to be Jackson Robinson, Owe, Brea, maybe a little bit of Perry or Chandler underneath that for support. And you got Almanor, Williams, and Garrison as a three-man front court. I saw a comment from Donovan, and if you guys ever, where was it?
Apologies,
yeah,
Max.
okay.
Apologies then. Sorry. You saw a comment from Donovan. My apologies.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Yeah.
I know. I had to double check because I agreed with it, which is scary. But he goes, this has Tennessee by 20 written all over it. Mm-hmm. And that's why I say Kentucky wins by 2. Why not? Anytime we sit up here and we say the game's basically already decided, why do you even have to play the game at this point? We already know who won. It's usually a lot more tricky than what's on the surface. And if you just go through, there's probably, foul trouble will definitely be a major piece in this game now that they're shorthanded. Conditioning, and do you have your legs underneath you in the final few minutes is going to be a storyline here also. But when you just think about who's going to be on the court, you say it's crunch time, say foul trouble's not a big factor in this game. It's going to be probably Jackson Robinson, Otega Owe, Kobe Brea, Ansley Almanor, and Amari Williams, or Brandon Garrison. That's not a bad lineup. It's not. Now, you're going to be very troubled with taking care of the ball without a true point guard going against a defense like this. But what I'm trying to say is I feel like with the injuries kind of compounded already a spread that was opened up right around 8 or something like that, maybe 2-3 possessions. I feel like the game, people are just like, the game's already over. Why do we even have to play it? Kentucky's never going to have a chance. Kentucky's 3-0 outright as underdogs this year. They've won every game they've been an underdog in. So
bet the bad news. We always say it.
Yep.
Bet the bad news. I'm telling you, that's the way to play it. So,
who runs the point for Kentucky tonight? Is it Owe? Is it Robinson? Me,
Lee.
great. Thanks.
You are now subbed in to run the point tonight.
I better start driving. Driving east.
I'd say Robinson gets some opportunities for sure.
Well, here's the issues. per Ken Palm, Robinson's got an assist rate of 9% and a turnover rate of 9%. Oweh's got an assist rate of 12 and a turnover rate of 9. Now, look, they are doing that from different roles. It's not the role that they are going to be asked to play. I get it. So maybe that looks differently. But, I mean, this is a Kentucky team that lost turnovers, 17-5 at Vanderbilt this weekend? And that was with Butler, although Butler, I'm guessing, was not 100% with that shoulder.
That was also the outlier. Let's call it what it is. I mean, they've taken care of the ball really well. But yes, like obviously that magnifies a bit not having Butler now. But I don't want to make it let's not act like they've just been turning the ball over left and right all season, because they really haven't. But yes, like tonight, it's the perfect recipe to have 21 turnovers against a team like Tennessee, who's just gonna defend you like no one else will. So
I did another thing. I did a little bit of digging. I got back into the stat digging. I love to do that. Who is Kentucky's leading 3-point percentage guy? Not total makes, but percentage. Who's Kentucky's leading 3-point percentage since December 1st? I did the past 2 months. Who do you think it is?
Well, Brea's been in a shooting slump a little bit for him. So I would guess it's Jackson Robinson.
It's Lamont Butler.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Because Lamont Butler had that one game that was 6 of 6, was it? 6 of 6 of something like it was. I think it was 6 of 6 or something like that. So he had that. So it's a little bit skewed from one game. But the point I'm trying to make is that November was like the Kobe Bryant month. He was shooting like 70% from 3 on high volume after November, something like that. But since Butler's been a nice, reliable, when he's open, that thing's going down over the past 2 months.
Can I tell you who's got to play big tonight for Kentucky? If they're going to have a chance here, it's Amari Williams. Because if there's no Carr, and I know like Garrison and Almanor will play and all that, but if you look at the games Kentucky has lost this season, right, you can find, I guess the Alabama game, he did get in foul trouble in that game. Did he not? Did Amari Williams get in foul trouble there? He finished with 13 points and 11 rebounds, but he had 4 turnovers. He fouled out. He only played 22 minutes. So, yeah. But look at the other games they've lost. Against Vanderbilt, he had 6 points and 5 rebounds. Against Georgia, he had 2 points and 5 rebounds, 4 fouls, 3 turnovers. Against Ohio State, 6 points, 8 rebounds. Against Clemson, 9 points, 11 rebounds, 4 turnovers, 3 fouls. So it's like he needs one of those just big, big, big games. Because I don't feel like he's had a lot of those recently, right? And I know, like, even throughout the season, I'm not saying he's got to score 25 or anything, but I feel like it's kind of been up and down a little bit. And obviously matchups matter there too, but if you do look at some of the common themes, like if they can get a little more out of him from just a scoring standpoint, especially tonight where, like I said, go back to the Auburn game. You're not getting anything easy against Tennessee unless you're getting out in transition and running. But he's got to play with physicality tonight. If he doesn't, it's going to be a long night, I think, for Kentucky because they got to have him playing big. And so we'll see how it plays out. But he's someone I have my eye on in this matchup. Just knowing what Akpara and Milicic are going to do. And, like he's going to get bumped around in there. And you got to embrace the physicality, and we'll see what happens in that matchup.
That's a good call because he is a top 10 defensive rebounder in the country right now per Ken Palm, and Tennessee is a top 10 offensive rebounding team. And the other thing they're going to have to watch is that backdoor lob that they have used over and over and over again the last couple of weeks to Akpara.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to pull something up here. Blake's going to like me for it. Our good friend Evan Mia puts out some great stuff. He actually he knew we were going to be doing this matchup. He knew we were going to be covering this matchup. So he gives the on-off splits for Kentucky and Tennessee. Tennessee's in the comments. I'll show it in a second. So the on-off splits tell you how much better the team plays when a player is on the court versus on the bench. This is not a stat thing. This is just when they're on the court, how does the team play? When they're off the court, how does the team play? That's basically all it is, and he adjusts it for strength of opponent. So here's Kentucky's splits. If I can, is that as big as I can make it? Can you guys see that?
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. We'll make it work.
Yeah. So this was this made its rounds on Twitter/X. Some surprising numbers. This is categorized by their on-off margin splits. So from the top down, it's the most efficient, productive is the wrong word, but like they help the team out the most. The team performs the best when they're on the court. Obviously from the top down. So you've got Lamont Butler and Andrew Carr as two of the top three, along with Amari Williams. Any surprises there, guys?
What is Kirk Reese's thing here that I'm looking at?
That's tough because he's only got a small sample size. If you look at the possessions are the amount of data we're pulling from, and his is one of the smallest.
So the higher the number on offense, the better. The lower the number on defense, or no?
No, the higher the number on both is
okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it makes sense, right? And I think, unfortunately, some of those defensive numbers really stand out in the wrong direction. Right, because if we're looking at some of those individual defensive numbers, it's not pretty.
Look what Butler means to them on defense.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Him and Carr, like those are the two guys that, if you take them off defensively, we talk about the offensive impact, but my goodness, you take those two guys off defensively. And that's where, like, I think if you turn it back to Tennessee, this is a game.
I'll pull that up.
Well, and if you're a Tennessee fan, you want to see them have a great offensive performance here, because if they come out and struggle against, again, the team who's going to be down a couple players and has been the worst defensive team in SEC play so far, that's going to probably make you a little bit concerned if you're a Tennessee fan, because you're like, this is the kind of team we should be able to take advantage of from an offensive standpoint. So, yeah, I mean, I think that certainly stands out. Look at Gainey's numbers offensively, though.
So now
talk about Gainey.
I don't get Meshack at all.
This is categorized by their possession usage. So the last one I showed you was categorized by their on-off margin splits. So it was from the top down. This is just who they use the most. But yeah, this was even a little bit more surprising to me. The Lanier being negatively impacting the offense, and Meshack just not really adding anything. That was surprising to me.
That seems a little off to me, and I wonder if that's just based on the guys that Meshack is guarding. Like, you know what I mean? Because he's always going to guard the best player or the second best player, but probably the best player. I mean, I have to look at the matchups and go back, but I wonder if that plays a role too. Or it's like, at a certain point, like, you know, if you're guarding the best guy, you're not always going to shut down the best guy. He's going to get his points. And I don't know. I wonder if that plays into it. But we can ask Evan the next time we have him on.
Yeah, or like, does somebody switch out when he comes in that impacts the lineup in another way?
Look, okay, hold on. We're gonna do a pit stop real quick. I'm glad Jacob is here. Okay, so I don't know if you guys have been on Twitter the past couple days, but Jacob Pickle has been the star of Twitter/X, and do we all know why? Max, I'd like you to find the tweet from my guy Jacob.
Yeah, hold on, let me.
You know which one I'm talking about, Jacob. This is your time to shine, because I've got to pull this up. This is tremendous stuff. Do
you want me to get the clip from Sam Fetterman too?
I mean, should we?
Yeah, hold on. Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I don't know if we don't like to just, call out coaches here, but you know what? It's my crowning achievement. This is your crowning achievement. Don't worry. Like, this is just tremendous stuff. And it's funny because when I saw him tweet this out, and my first thought is, I know exactly what he's doing. And I was like, surely everyone else knows, right? But then I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm going to the comments. Then I'm seeing this clip. And I'm like, they can't be taking this seriously, can they? But yeah. All right. So here we go.
Okay.
All right. So Jacob tweeted out, this was January 26th.
That's what I thought it was.
The best conference in the history of college basketball, in quotes, is 54-54 since January 4th. ESPN once again showing their SEC bias for some teams that can't even get above 500. And then our guy Archie Miller had something to say about that. Oh, I can't hear it, Max.
Oh, you can't?
Nope.
No. Here, let me pull it up.
Darn
Pull
it.
up. I'll get it. All right.
I think it's because of my Bluetooth, but
It's fine. I'll pull it up.
look at
See
how
if I can
well
get
this
work on
tweet
my
did.
side.
7.6 thousand likes.
What a star.
What an absolute
star.
Hit single. Top of the charts right now in the hoops world.
Just
2.8 million views. That's fantastic.
2.8 million.
All right, Max, I'm going to remove this. I'm going to get us back to where we go here, and then I want to see if it works on my side for this one. So, technical issues at Southeastern 16. No one would ever be surprised by that, would they? All right. Let's see here. Okay, this sounds probably great for the audio listeners. Oh, I don't think this is even going on audio. So who cares, audio listeners? You're not even getting this. All right. Let's see if we can get this pulled up.
Best league in the country, but in all games, difficult. I heard somebody say the other day, like, the SEC is the best league in the country, but in all games they're like 54 and 54. Somebody said that. I don't know if that's even accurate, but like, do you know how hard it is?
It is, but it's not.
It is,
to win. It's just hard to win any game.
So is the MEAC.
Oh no.
Oh man.
Wow.
This
Anyways,
college basketball season has if someone is going to put together like a highlight of all the bloopers and stuff, this do you guys see Fanta slipping on the sidewalk and falling down?
No.
There are some great clips. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but he took a spill and that clip went viral.
Oh, man.
What's Jacobs? Put his handle up. Jacobs brilliant. If people aren't following him, they need to.
Yeah, sorry, I clicked off the thing. What is it, Jacob? Put it in the chat. The actual Twitter. We can put the I can put the link too. But anyway, sorry, we took a sidebar there, but I had to make sure Jacob got his recognition because just an absolute shining moment. One shining moment, as he said. Here, I'll put it. He put it in there, but I'll give you the exact link if you want to click on it. So, all right. Anyways, back to the SEC, who will undoubtedly go 3-3 tonight in league play. No question about it. They're going 3-3 tonight.
That sounds pretty average.
Bum conference, if you ask me. All right. I don't know what we're talking about.
Sam Smith reporting that John Fanta is dead. Thank you, Sam.
Well, then we know that John Fanta is alive and well.
When it comes from Sam Smith, you gotta trust that.
All right. What else?
We were talking about Evan Mia's numbers, and then we went down a rabbit hole.
Oh yeah, we'd never do that, would we? My goodness. If you want to go down a rabbit hole, though, Evan Mia, if he ever wants to be a sponsor of this show, I could get a great segue into his stuff. But yeah,
Kobe Brea's numbers on there too were a little odd. Like him as a negative offensive player, that doesn't seem right.
He has slowed down more than I even thought.
Not been the same guy the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, he's shooting like, and this is gonna sounds funny just saying it, but he's shooting under 40% from three.
Oh,
oh man.
Oh, good. Come on.
Oh man. No, but I think it was like over the last 8 weeks, I think he was like somewhere around 37, 38%, which is it's not bad at all, but what in context, he was like above 50 for a while. So,
all right. So what's the spread on this game?
9.5.
What did it start at?
I think 8.5. I'm telling you, I bet
it only went up a point with Butler.
Well, but it would listen though. The timing is the same. Like the spread would have came out at the same time as the injury report. So it's like they coincide with each other. So I mean, I think it's just kind of that was what it was.
What's Ken Palm got the game at? They've got it at 9, which would factor in Butler into that. That's my point. I would have thought that.
No, you bet the bad news. I'm telling you, I don't.
Yeah, injuries don't impact the odds as much as you would think. Like a star player being down, like Boogie Flan being out, moves a spread like one basket.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I mean, I get it, but like at some point, like if you, where does that really start to impact? Like if your whole starting lineup had the flu and your you're starting 3 walk-ons. Like that would impact a spread significantly. I'm just saying, where's the point where between missing one big guy and missing a bunch of guys changes that number dramatically?
Yeah, but I think it's also what the people who set the spreads are trying to accomplish, knowing that if they set it at a certain number, that at some point it becomes very risky for them. And so it's like you're almost daring people at a certain number to, pick, and that's where they start overthinking it, right? And then you start, making the wrong bet. And so I think that's that plays into it too. Like Max said, I don't think it.
Yeah.
You would think that on the surface that number should just skyrocket, but because you think that, they know that, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we got them now, hook, line, and sinker." So
I don't pretend to know how all that works. I just know that common sense would tell you lose a guy like. But and especially, here's the thing. I think if Kirk Reeser were still healthy, I feel different about the game. But without an obvious point guard against a team who's got, possibly the best defensive player in the country who's going to be guarding him, it feels like a big deal to me.
It's just the only reason why I feel like I got a little bit of a weird gut feeling about this game is because Kentucky is not a bad team. They're injured, but they've got a great coach. They're 3-0 when they've gone into a game as an underdog. And it just seems like the game is already over. And I went on VSiN. VSiN does the splits, and I was expecting to go on VSiN and see just like 90% Tennessee. The public bet right now is still on Kentucky, so that was a little bit. It's like,
but Blake, you pointed out the series history there recently in Knoxville. I think
Kentucky's
that's got something to do with it, right?
Yeah, and I think and I also think they're probably looking at it from a standpoint of, do we trust Tennessee to blow someone out offensively? Like, I think that's fair, and because even like I said, remember, it felt like kind of a blowout against Mississippi State at times, right? But they still wind up winning by 12. It's 68-56. It's not like they were just completely going off offensively, So I think that's a question worth asking too. Is that even against the worst defensive team statistically in the SEC, is there some trust issues there of Tennessee actually blowing somebody out with their offense? And so, I don't know. But there's a lot of factors that go into it, as we know. But all right. Just quickly, we're going to make this a short stream because here's why. You know what? I was going to say something else, but y'all got to stop going live while I'm trying to deer hunt in the mornings. That's why we're making this a short stream, okay? Some people got to get back to deer hunting around here, all right? If you want to find us a deer hunting sponsor, let me know. Speaking of sponsors, the new ad read you guys have been waiting on. It's not coming right now. It's coming tonight in prime time when we go live after Kentucky and Tennessee. We got multiple new sponsors on the way here, folks. New ad read coming tonight. But we know that it would not be a live stream at Southeastern 16 without our friends at Sanders Logistics.
Nice. That was great.
Because that was really suspenseful, I thought, on that one.
Nice. Good.
Sanders Logistics, as you know, your friends and mine, formerly known as Ted R. Sanders Moving, a leader among moving companies in Nashville, Tennessee, and the surrounding area. Their team of professional movers are focused on delivering efficient, hassle-free moving at an affordable price. I have nothing creative to say here. Usually I do, but it's early. Whether you're moving across town or across the country, Sanders Logistics has you covered. Visit them at tedrsandersmoving.com. It's about as basic as it gets there.
Sometimes you just got to go back to the basics.
That's what I think. Tonight, we will not be going back to the basics. New ad read, Kentucky versus Tennessee reaction to everything else. It's going to be wild. So, yeah.
Blake, do you have to get moved out of here by
I'm about to
hassle-free?
I do have to get moved out of here.
Blake's
folks,
life
I have to go to
hassle-free.
I have to go to the dentist. I mean, top 5 things that just...
You're going to Starkville?
everyone. I'm actually Xander's Logistics is moving me to Starkville. I'm going to be next door neighbors with Chris Jans. All right, that's breaking news here on the channel. So yes, Max revealed it. Sam will have my address probably in no time in Starkville. But yeah, so Sam wants me to get the gas at the dentist. Sam, if I'm getting the gas today, something has gone horribly wrong with this checkup. So yeah.
The trick is to tell them you're heavier than you actually are, so they give you yeah.
Wow.
About 15 pounds heavier.
That's very
My
specific.
goodness. I better get my oh boy. Yeah. All right. That's all I've got. Unless you guys want to keep this going. You want to we what else do you want to talk about?
Max, do you want
Touch
to
on the other two?
hit a little A&M
Okay.
as Blake leaves?
All right.
Yeah, let's talk.
Tonight.
Blake, are you heading out?
I am. We're going live tonight after Kentucky, Tennessee.
Prime
I
time.
don't even remember the other game times, but we're definitely going live after that game tonight. So, yep. We'll see you guys then. New ad read coming tonight. Your entire day should be thinking about that. But all right, I'm out of here. Please don't
Good
get us
luck.
kicked off the air. I'll talk to you later.
No promises.
Who's that directed at? Was that me or you? Probably me.
No, that was Chris. I just want to jump back on and make sure that was very clear. Don't get us kicked off the air, Chris. Okay? All right. I'm heading out of here. As Joe says, I'm heading to Cycle Bar. I'll be back.
It's like when
Oh
the
my
teacher leaves the room but hasn't left the room yet. Just then.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm still here.
Oh my gosh. How do we block
And I'm
him
back
out of
again.
here?
I think he made it up, Max. He's not really.
He's
going to the
already late
dentist.
for
He's
his appointment. He's already
just
late.
messing with us.
All right, let's talk some Carolina, Georgia. Why don't we, real quick?
Let's do that.
I think the spread on this is 7.5 for Georgia. What are your thoughts on that?
This is a big game for Georgia, Max. I mean, counting wins in this league is difficult, and I don't mean this disrespectful to South Carolina. I think it's a good team, but like if you can't get this one, that's 5 in a row you've lost, and you have to question. You've got Alabama on the schedule away, A&M away. You got Missouri coming there. You got Auburn on the road, Florida coming there, Texas on the road, Vandy coming there. I mean, this is one that, like, I think if Georgia wins, I think Georgia ends the night on the right side of the bubble. I think if it loses tonight, it goes the other way.
I couldn't have put it any better. Yeah, I think that's a great point. Wow, and when you put it that way, man, I mean, we could be looking back come March. We could be looking back at Tuesday the 28th and saying that was. It may not have seemed it at the time, but since they were able to secure that one, it just avoided the worst possible loss, that they could have had, and that seems to be what kept them on the right side of the bubble.
All right, I think if Georgia wins tonight, I probably put it 50-50 Georgia making the tournament. If it loses, definitely under that.
Bracket Matrix had them in this, I believe yesterday Bracket Matrix updated. So this is rare. We get an updated Bracket Matrix to talk about. That's the compilation of pretty much everyone that's out there. And they have Georgia as the last 9 seed. Right there flirting with the 10s. So right now I think they're sitting on the right side of the bubble, but a loss to the team with the lowest analytical rating in the SEC at home, that might be enough to bump you down into that 11 range where you're talking about you're right on that line.
So Bracket Matrix right now has got 13 SEC teams in?
Yes.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Yeah,
I hope I'm wrong. I do. I just don't think there's enough wins in there for everyone to get there. I would go 11 is my guess.
Oh, I think 12's I think it's definitely 12. right now.
I don't know.
Who do you think? Because who do you think gets left out there on the bubble?
See, I don't know. I just think it's somebody. My guess is Georgia and one of Oklahoma, Vandy, Texas, which I would lean Oklahoma right now. But I mean, I say that Oklahoma's got some really good wins.
Oklahoma's definitely right on the bubble, but I think Vanderbilt is. I think Vanderbilt would have to really go on a little bit of a stretch to not make it. I think they've done some good work.
Yeah, my concern is somebody's going to take like 5 or 6 losses in a row. You just run into a series of breaks, like kind of like South Carolina is right now. We're just like it's something every night.
Yeah.
That's just the way it goes. I don't know who it's going to be, but it's somebody always gets that bad beat.
Yeah, well, this game will have a lot to do with it. I think it's going to be a great battle of the front courts. And now with Apeson, Apeson's not their main guy in the front court, but he does. I do like his minutes when he gets in there. I do. I think he's tough as nails. But I think they still have the horses to battle. Is this? This might be overstating it a little bit, but I feel like this is one of the better front courts that South Carolina has played, and they've played like pretty much the best in the conference. But when you're talking about Georgia at home defensively and just like the depth that they have, I would be surprised if Pringle and Murray Boyles just go in and just are, packing up Newell and Cyril for lunch. I just have a hard time believing that.
Who do they guard CMB with?
Gotta be Newell, right? It's gotta be Newell.
I would think Newell on Pringle.
Okay. Maybe Godfrey?
Yeah, I don't feel like he's been as much of a factor lately, though.
Yeah, well, it's because the past 2 games he's had 8 fouls. So he's not staying on the floor.
That doesn't bode well for who you're playing.
No, that'll be a big thing. Will be front court fouls. Which front court gets dinged with the first guy that gets 2 fouls and has to sit? Is it Pringle that gets too early and has to sit, or is it RJ Godfrey or Cyril that gets too early and they got to sit? That's going to be huge for this game. Is the front court whistle. But
what did they do with Dylan James tonight?
I think he's played pretty good. He'll be in there for sure.
Excuse me. So I'm looking at this, and I'm just thinking, like, it's a weird lineup. Like they've got all these 6'4", 6'5" guards, and then it jumps to like 6'11" guys, other than Godfrey, which is probably why you mentioned him, because like, and James is kind of I don't know. James may not be able to. He doesn't play that much. I'm spitballing here. Godfrey's probably the right answer.
Yeah, I think it'd be Godfrey.
But I mean, Newell probably moves well enough to do it. So maybe that is the answer.
Yeah, and in conference play, they do a pretty good job at not fouling. And we knew those. Remember, what were the numbers for the free throw splits at home on the Kentucky and Georgia, or Kentucky and Oklahoma game? Wasn't the Georgia's home free throw splits? They were like, they had like a 40 free throw advantage or something like that.
Yeah, Blake would know.
So I wouldn't be surprised. Anything else on this game though? I'm still expecting Georgia to kind of lean on that defense and win at home.
Yeah, that's where I am too. It just feels to me like, the problem with South Carolina is that team is due. They are due to beat somebody. They have caught every bad break on earth. They keep fighting, but they are also a very different team away for the most part. So yeah, I feel pretty good about Georgia.
Yeah, and then A&M Oklahoma is the late game, 8 Central, 9 Eastern. That is also 8.5. So we got spreads of 7.5, 8.5, 9.5 right now. Nothing too close, but nothing predicted to be, completely out of hand. This is the rematch. I really like A&M in this game, and I normally, as much as I am an A&M homer because of my offseason predictions about them being really good, it's tough to pick A&M confidently in a lot of these matchups that they've had, like against even just Texas, Ole Miss, Kentucky, Alabama, 4 out of their last 5 games. It's been like, I don't feel great. They can come out with the win, but I don't feel great. This is one where I'm like, man, the first game they went to Oklahoma without Wade Taylor. Bryson Godine hit his career high threes, and they still were able to come away with it. Donovan, I'm not an A&M fan. I'm not a fan of any team. I just, in the offseason, I was one of the only people that was out here hollering from the rooftops, this is going to be a top 15 team in the nation. And so I bet it was up.
Okay, pop quiz. No cheating. I know you don't cheat,
Okay.
Max, but Jeremiah Fears, last 8 games, how many times has he hit 20 points?
It would be, have they played 6 or 7 games in the SEC?
I said last games? 8. Oh, sorry. I see what you're saying. They have played 7.
Okay.
Sorry, 6.
I'll say 2. I'll say 2.
That he's done it once. He had 20 against Texas. Been at 19 twice. Those were 2 out of conference, but SEC play starting with Arkansas last game, working backwards, 16, 16, 20, 2, 13, 16. No, look, that's not bad. I'm not trying to say he hasn't been good, but I just think this is a night where they need him to go for probably 25, and that's not going to be easy given the defenders on that other bench.
Well, the thing about Texas A&M, and Nathan says it absolutely perfectly, A&M is a bit like Kentucky in the way that they could win or lose any game.
Yeah, I think that's true.
I think it's very true. I think A&M is a team where if they're hitting their threes and you're getting a few threes from like Hayden Hefner, maybe Solo Washington hits his like corner 3 that he always likes to shoot. And you just get a few threes from other guys, and it's like, wait a second, are you kidding me? We caught A&M on the night that they hit double-digit threes. Like, you got to be kidding me. They could beat anyone, but then also they can go like 0 of 30 from 3, and the offensive efficiency is just down the drain. The thing about Oklahoma, though, is I think it's a good matchup because Oklahoma doesn't rebound all too well. They're 15th in the SEC right now in offensive rebounding and 11th in defensive. So they're bottom 5 in both categories, offensive and defensive rebounding. I just think it's a bad matchup. But yeah, A&M is a team that's going to let you shoot over the top. Oklahoma is a team that can shoot over the top. So you never know.
Yeah, big game for Jalen Moore too. By the way, guess who's back with the streak? Me having to tell you.
Yep.
Thank you, Zach.
Zach's on an absolute roll. He's got the longest win streak in the country right now.
You know, it's weird. A&M, like you would think a team, they were top 20 in experience and top 20 in bench minutes at Ken Pom. Like you would think that would be the recipe for absolute rock solid consistency. But it's not. And I think that's what happens when you've got 2 volume shooters who get a lot of your offensive work.
Yeah, and Wade Taylor being a little bit banged up too.
Yeah,
definitely plays a little bit of a factor.
I mean, I have a feeling like I feel like Sweet 16 is a good spot to put them, but I don't know that I'd budge more than 1 game from that. Like, I think they're good enough to win a first-round game, could get eliminated in the second. I don't see them going past, like, the Elite 8.
Well, I think, like, confidently predicting any team to go past the Elite 8, I mean, there's only so many you're going to put into that category.
Yeah.
Confidently, going. I think this team has a better chance than last year's team. And last year's team almost beat Houston, that crazy overtime game. The difference between this year's A&M team, and last year's A&M team mainly is Farrell Payne. Like, that's the main difference.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. Like, Phelps has helped the defense get better, but they miss Radford's kind of offensive ability. That's kind of like a trade-off defense for offense. But the big difference in this is that last year's front court that was number 1 in the nation in offensive rebounding, that was Henry Coleman, Andy Garcia, and Solo Washington. This year, it's all 3 of them, and then they just added Farrell Payne, who was I think he was number 3 in the Big Ten in offensive rebounding last year, number 3 in block rate as well. So that's the main difference. It's pretty much the same backcourt, and you just added Farrell Payne. So you're still, like, the offense didn't really, nothing crazy happened to the offense, but the defense shot from last year. They finished 68th in defensive efficiency. Right now, they're 8th. So that's the main difference with the team.
Here's something crazy. I would have never thought this would happen. Phelps has got a usage rate and a shot percentage way higher than Taylor.
Yeah. Taylor has not been he gets labeled as, just, a lot of people like to call him just like an inefficient, like shot chucker. He has not been that at all this year. He's got the highest assist rate he's had since that breakout sophomore campaign. Much higher assist rate than last year. And he's been dealing with that injury, but he has not been shooting as much.
And when you put it like that, that makes me think they've got a higher ceiling this year. I think last year, sometimes you were that guy because that's who you are. Sometimes you're that guy because that is who you have to be. That was a team that was very offensively challenged last year. Like, it felt like a little thing, but maybe it was a big thing. Like, Hayden Hefner wasn't very good last year. And just having a guy to take pressure off defense and hit a shot somewhere, that just wasn't something that they had. So I think that forced Taylor to take a lot of shots because who else was going to do it? So, I mean, now that I think about it, I think I just said I don't know that they've got a ceiling past the Elite Eight, and maybe they don't. And, I mean, Elite Eight's pretty darn good anyway.
Yeah.
But when you look at that shot percentage and usage percentage, and you're like, okay, he's not having to do nearly as much as he did a year ago. I think that's a pretty good thing for them.
Yeah, here's two fun little stats on A&M. So this is a weird trend that's going on. Texas A&M's last 9 opponents have all lost their next game.
Wow.
It's kind of like the trends with the Lions of the NFL that was happening this regular season, where you play them and in the next game, it's just for some reason everyone loses that next game. So that's 9 straight opponents for A&M now that have lost their next game after playing A&M. That team up for the trend next is Texas playing at Ole Miss. Will be about a 6-point underdog. So it might be pushed to 10. That's a weird trend that's going on. So I wanted to highlight that. Then another A&M, and I do not care about the AP at all. This is just a cool little thing for the program. 8 weeks inside the top 15 this year. That's the most since 2007 for A&M. So
goodness.
Yeah, best team in almost 20 years for the Aggies.
Pre-SEC days by a good bit. Who did they have that year?
Oh, I was 7 years old.
I was not 7. Let's see if I recognize these names. Oh, AC Law. Yeah, I remember those teams.
Here's a good question as we can kind of wrap up on this one, Chris. What is the ceiling for the top SEC teams in the tournament this year, in your opinion? We're talking, so I think he's kind of wondering off that topic of A&M Elite Eight kind of ceiling. I would say there are, and now this is going to be, I feel like this year's bracket is going to be very hard to fill out because the SEC's non-conference was so dominant. Like if you look at Oklahoma right now, projected to be a 9 or a 10 seed. They've been reeling. They just won 2 in a row, but it was South Carolina, Arkansas.
Yeah.
But if you look at their non-conference, if you guys watched Arizona, Iowa State last night, absolutely insane game. Caleb Love hitting the 60-footer with 2 seconds left to force overtime. Oklahoma beat them. Oklahoma beat Louisville. Oklahoma beat Michigan. Oklahoma State, Providence. Beat everyone in the non-conference. So, like, you'll get to March Madness, Oklahoma might be a 10 seed, and the 4 that they might have to play in 2 rounds or something like that might be Arizona, a team they already beat on a neutral court. And it's like, wait, am I really going to have Oklahoma in the Sweet 16, Elite 8? Well,
yeah,
something like that. So it's like, I'm going to have a hard time. I did not pick too many SEC. I think I had Mississippi State in the Final Four last year for fun. I really liked Mississippi State last year. But like this year, Chris, it's the best conference ever, pretty much. So,
yeah. Let's do this, okay? Let's start at the bottom. I don't think LSU, Arkansas, South Carolina, any of those teams are going, so we can eliminate them. I think, to me, Georgia, Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, I'm not giving those in any particular order. To me, those are probably win one game type of teams. I don't see much beyond that, but they could all win a game. Now, Oklahoma with fears, just because when you've got a stud guard who's going to be an NBA player one day, that maybe is your outlier potentially if he hits a heater. And the other one might be Vandy, just the way they guard and can. I think Georgia's, in my mind, probably got the lowest ceiling of those 3 teams. I mean, I say that. They've got Ace and Newell too. But that's how it feels. I would kind of categorize those 3 together.
The bottom half is capable. But I don't think we'll be talking like Elite 8, Final Four. I think when we get to that group of like A&M, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Texas, like those 4, I think all 4 of those, maybe Texas a little bit on the outside, but like Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and A&M, I could see all 3. I could see all them making an Elite 8 run.
I would go if there's something in between Sweet 16 and Elite 8. I'll tell you what, I'm going to disagree with you a little bit on Texas. I could see Texas being a team that made an Elite 8.
Oh, I can't.
Just because of Trey Johnson, man.
Yeah, but I mean,
I don't think those other teams have a. Yeah, but I just don't think those other teams have a carry you guy the way he can do it. That's a really high risk pick. They could also not make the tournament at all.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. Like all these teams in this pack could make a run. Above them, when you get into, I would honestly put Kentucky in that pack right now, also with their injuries right now.
Yeah,
I would put them into that. When you get above that, into Tennessee, Mizzou, Florida, Alabama, Auburn.
Yeah.
You're not crazy for picking any of them to go far.
I have the 2 teams that I want to wait and see a little. Well, there's more than 2, but I want to wait and see on Mississippi State. Do they get Cleary back? What's that look like? Kentucky, do you get your point guards healthy? What's that look like? And I think both of them will, because let's be fair, it looks a lot different for both those teams at full strength than it has lately when each of them is not looked at, on nights where they haven't been their best. So I kind of put an asterisk next to those teams. I'll tell you, I'm starting to think could go further than anybody. And this might surprise you. Florida.
I thought you were going to say that.
Okay.
That's not surprising at all. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alabama, I want to see. It's probably a little thing. It's probably nothing. I want to see how this thing with Sears resolves.
Oh, I think it'll be.
I think it will be too. I just want to. I want to see how it plays out. And I think Tennessee. I mean, I would almost write. Well, I say that you've seen them like the Oregon State debacle a couple years ago. Sometimes that just happens to them, but I feel like that's a team I'll probably write in the Sweet 16, maybe the 8, depending on the matchup. But I don't know if I'll go further. We'll see. I mean, they could get there.
It'll depend a lot on path, but I think if you're talking like Auburn, Alabama, Florida, Missouri, Tennessee, A&M, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and then kind of your few teams outside of those 7 also that are right there that could just maybe they get healthy and they're right there, or they win a few more games and they're right there. There's a few teams also right there that are like, put them in the Final Four. Like Ole Miss is a team that I'm going to have going pretty far. Same with Missouri, just because when you look at like their recipes for winning on a neutral floor, like what can you lean into on a neutral floor when you're like, I have no clue how these teams are going to translate. Well, I know this team's going to get to the free throw line. They're going to turn them over, or something like that. It's like, well, the Ole Miss defense, the Missouri defense in a tournament setting, I love it. I love those defenses in a tournament setting.
Yeah, I mean, I generally hate that question because it so depends on matchups and seeding. The committee not screwing this up or that up or giving you a tough, like with Tennessee getting Creighton and Purdue last year, like those teams both had bigs. It's like that draw sucks for them, and they got past one but not the other. I mean, you've got maybe Auburn might be matchup proof, Florida might be matchup proof, Duke might be matchup proof. And I haven't seen enough of the rest of the country to really know. But other than that, everybody else I kind of throw in that same boat of, to me, that how far can they go in the tournament is just kind of a silly question until you see what the draw is. And even when you see the draw, sometimes it's not the draw, second weekend that you thought you were getting when the bracket comes out of the wrapper.
Here, well, we can wrap up on this thought too, as we're approaching the hour mark. Because we keep saying, it all depends on matchups. And I love that question, by the way. It's a great discussion. There's only a few teams in my head where it's like, if I see them get matched up in your quadrant, I will right away be like, okay, it's definitely going to be a tough task. I'm not just going to pencil you in. It's like Houston, Duke, and Iowa State. Maybe the way that Michigan State has been playing lately, they're on a tear. But like,
they don't.
Other than that, there's really no teams that I'm like, if they're matched up with the top, 5, 6 of the SEC, besides like Houston, Duke, Iowa State, there's really no one out there where I'm like, oh man, they got this draw. They're gonna have to get through these guys.
Yep.
You got to be kidding me. It's like Houston, Duke, Iowa State. Other than that, there's really no one that's scaring me.
Yeah. I usually don't have a lot of confidence, and I'm not really good at brackets anyway, to be honest. But like, I feel mid-February is when I can really start definitively making judgments on teams, and some of that is because if a team plays a weak non-conference schedule and then gets the easy part of its conference schedule first half, some of these teams hadn't played good on good a lot. I think with the SEC, it's a little different this year because even if you've gotten a weak schedule, you played some teams so far because the league's that good. But all right, gut feeling right now. You had to make a national title pick. Where are you going?
Last week or 2 weeks ago, I believe I said Iowa State.
Really? Okay.
But right now, I would probably go with Auburn.
Okay.
I'm not going to pick Duke. I think Duke is a little bit similar to Tennessee last year, just in the sense where they have an absolutely insane defense and like a 1-of-1 player on offense, and they just lean a little bit too hard on that one player, and I feel like that's going to come back to bite them.
Yeah.
So right now, I'll go Auburn. I think Auburn, Houston, Iowa State is kind of the 3 that I'd be surprised right now if it's not one of those 3.
See, Duke's probably where I would go, but that's based more on listening to what people say about him and having a guy in Cooper Flagg who's maybe a generational guy. Plus, I mean, they got size at point. They got a rim protector inside. They've got a lot of the stuff that wins you championships. But I know they also struggled with NC State last night, so there was that.
And
they're also not going to get tested as much in the ACC. So
I think those are your four. I think those are your four title contenders, like legit title contenders right now. Is Auburn, Houston, Iowa State, and Duke.
See, I might put Florida in there too.
Yeah, and Florida. Florida's definitely right there too.
And Alabama. Don't forget Alabama. I mean, this time a week ago, I was saying, hey, look, this team is really coming on. It's starting to look like the team that was playing so well in the postseason last year looked. And then the thing happens which I mean, that might have just been a Nate Oates trick to,
get them going.
Yeah, I mean, test your mettle a bit against a team that you're not going to lose to. Like this, if they're playing Auburn, does he do that?
Right.
I don't know the context. I wasn't in the locker room, but I mean, I think about it like, okay, maybe if they're not playing LSU, they do that against someone else. So I don't know. I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Max, you ready to get out of here?
Let's do that, and we will remind you guys that we'll be back tonight following the 6 Central window.
Okay.
There's another game going on, Kentucky, Tennessee, and then the other game is Dogs, Gamecocks. So we'll go live right after those.
So maybe 8:15 Central-ish, 8:30.
Somewhere right around there.
Yeah, I would say 8, but we know how games are going this year.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We will be back tonight. If you want to make sure you catch that, hit the subscribe button. That's free. Enable your notifications. That is free. And we'll hope to see you tonight. Thanks for the super chats. Thanks for just being here. For Max Barr, I'm Chris Lee. You've been watching our SEC basketball content at Southeastern 16.